Now that we have a few of our nodes placed in areas and such, we will continue with setting up the pipe system or the conveyance system for our stormwater. If you're following along in our manual, we're on page 1-31, where we're going to add a series of what we call links connecting up nodes. Back in my design file, I'm going to visually zoom in to the section between catch basin 1 and catch basin 2. This will be the location of my first pipe. I'm also going to turn off the low points level, as I don't need those right now. Pipes are called links in drainage, and they're a component. I'm going to add the first one by going to the drainage pull down component link add. The link ID will populate based on my project preferences established earlier. I can override that if necessary. I'll click OK, and our link configuration dialog will pop up. Similar to the node in the area, we have options to set up, and when we're through, we just simply click the apply to add it to the project. Under the definition, that's where we establish the first from node and to node that the pipe will connect. You can choose it from the available nodes that you have. I want to go from catch basin 1 to catch basin 2. I want to choose the shape, circular, and the material, concrete. That will filter out the library, and if I want to choose the size, I simply hit select, and it will show me all the available circular concrete pipes that I have. I can either choose a size and use that in my design, or I can have drainage design the size for me. Additionally, I can have it design the number of barrels, or simply leave that unchecked and just select the number of barrels or the number of pipes that I want to connect up between 1 and 2. I also define a default roughness value by keying that in. The conditions option, that's set based on the from node and to nodes min and max depth. So each node, again under the elevations for each node, we established a min and max depth. I'm choosing those to establish the min cover max depth here. And we'll use those values to help establish the pipe envelope for the design of the system. Under constraints, this is where I can set up some basic design constraints for my pipe system. For this particular pipe, since the drainage is going to design it, I want to keep the design between 1 foot diameter and 4 foot diameter, or rise, if you will. The slope, I want to maintain a slope between no shallower or no flatter than 0.5% and no greater than 12%. And the velocity for the pipes, I want to keep that between 0.5 CFS and 12 CFS. The computations will be performed once this pipe is part of a network, which we haven't established yet. If I click apply at this point, the pipe is added to the system. Now what I want to notice is the fact that the pipe itself has connected between the two structures. And if I zoom in on the first structure, I can see that it's connected to the back of the structure in that location. But if I zoom to the catch basin 2, it's connected up to the back of the structure on that side as well. And I actually want the pipe to connect to the front wall of the structure instead. So back at the Definitions tab, or Options, by simply choosing them from the pull-down list, it goes to a default location for the pipe connection. However, on the 2 node, catch basin 2, if I select the 2 node ID icon, and I data point, for example, on the right-hand side of the structure, notice that the pipe will connect to the right-hand side. If I data point near the front of the structure, it will connect to the front. And if I data point to the left-hand side, it will connect to the left. At each of those locations that it's connecting to, there is a point that's part of the cell graphic, and that point is a pipe connection point. So the user simply just data points closest to the pipe connection point that he or she would like to connect to. In this case, the front wall. Click Apply, and it will place the pipe to that nearest location. So each of my cells have pipe connection points. I'm going to info the cell itself. It's a cell called curb 4, and if I look here in the components of the cell, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 4 elements in the cell that are lines by type. There's other lines as well, but most importantly is there's a few lines in there. For example, this one here, a 0 length line or a point, and it has a specific style and a specific class. So drainage understands that if those points exist in a cell with that style and class, that's a pipe connection point. And there are other special drainage points or cell points that can be created that can apply for different things, such as where do we calculate the elevation for the cell, where is our hydraulic center of the cell, what's the front of the cell, what's the back of the cell. So we can determine all that by placing points when we create the cell itself. So as I data point, I can make sure that my pipes connect to the appropriate location on the cell versus simply just pulling them from the pull-down list of from node and to node. Furthermore, I could actually draw the pipe myself using the place element tools within PowerCivil, maybe Smart Line, maybe Place Line tool, and instead use a MS element and just simply ID the element that represents my pipe, and we'll use that instead. So if your pipe has a bend in it, you would want to use that option. I'm going to continue by adding more pipes. So the next pipe that I want to add is pipe SS2. I'll click OK. I'll zoom out a little bit and zoom to where my pipe 2 will exist. Again, I'm going to ID. I'm going to ID near the back of the cell, and here I'll ID near the front of the cell for catch basin 3. And I can see that it's pulled the pipe from the correct locations. Everything else will stay the same. The conditions, the constraints. So I'll simply click Apply. Again, continuing on with the next pipe, which will be pipe 3, I'll define that going from the back of the structure 3 to the front of structure 4. Click apply. And then finally, the last one will be from catch basin 4 to my outlet structure. And apply. So that's how we add pipes, pretty much just connecting the dots from one structure to another. I should note that what we're creating we're going to do pipes, but the same dialog is used to do a ditch. A ditch again would go from node to node or point to point, and you can set the ditch from node and to node, and you can set up the ditch width and the ditch depth, or we can design the width and depth. We can also use a surface. So if I have a proposed surface running, for example, maybe from catch basin 4 to the outlet structure, we could set up where we cut cross sections along that straight line, and the width of those sections, the number of those sections, and that helps us establish the geometry for the ditch. So it could be a fixed geometry or cross-section based geometry. And you can have a series of pipes connecting to ditches, to pipes, and so forth. Your system or drainage system can interchange between pipes and ditches. So the next step is to actually evaluate or design the system. And we do that by creating a network. So at this point, I want to exit out of my drainage project, and I'm going to open up a completed drainage project that has all the pipes, all the catch basins already created, and simply what we're going to do is create the network and evaluate and design and evaluate the system. So go ahead and exit out of your drainage program.